It's a hard difference. We have just started using, well, myself and Tom, Brian Train, just started using handheld mics because we lost all our podcast equipment, unfortunately. So that was...
Yeah, why did you lose all your podcast
He was
equipment?
taken in a sweep. I lost my coffee machine and my podcast equipment. So we're on the handhelds at the moment, which is... It's actually been quite good because you can I feel like I'm a comedian, you know?
I mean, at the moment, there's a lot of comedic things happening in your life.
Oh, mate. My life is a comedy.
Miscellaneous things that are coming and going.
Or a Quentin Tarantino movie at times. It's
True, there are a lot of like non-linear narratives happening, you know? Because it's been weird, like, you know, I'd say like we have... I mean, it's interesting. I would consider us friends. Would you consider us friends?
Us friends.
Yes, nice. Yeah, because even though we've only really done that one podcast where I was on Sunday Run, but then also I feel like, you know, over Instagram, we've had the replies to each other's stories.
Yeah, it's been good. And I feel like I'm a huge part of your career. Not only am I a huge part, I'm the catalyst behind your career because Ferg, as we were just saying.
You were a jump, yeah.
Yeah. Before you came on the Sunday Run podcast, you were finding your feet. You were going well. You know, you were funny. You had all the right bones and the right structure.
Yes.
But then I just gave you a little nudge in the right direction.
It was a little nudge. I don't know what it did, but your energy went into me, and then I had... Channel 7 and 9 starting digging around, you know, and then like a few little Daily Mail articles and Sunrise and, you know, I'm going on Carl and Jackie O soon as well. I didn't tell you that, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I can announce that on pod. I haven't announced that on pod. Yeah, it's happening.
What do you have to do on there?
Same thing. The same producer who does the stuff with Sunrise does the stuff with Carl and Jackie O. And she likes me, which is good.
Handy.
Yeah.
Get an in.
The funniest thing that I haven't talked about, when it was Koshi's last day, because I made Koshi laugh so hard, they wanted me to send in a video of me doing a Koshi. And apparently I sent it in and the producer showed him before the show went. And he's like, who the fuck is this?
Who is that guy?
It was like all these celebrities. It was like Kylie Minogue, you know.
Hey, Koshi.
Yeah, you're Shane Warne's son. And then just I pop up from a segment he doesn't remember. I was like, g'day, Kate. I'll come again. He's like, who the fuck is this?
Who is this guy? Thanks, mate. Thanks, buddy. Oh, no.
So it didn't go to
Impact.
air. It didn't go to air.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
would have
it's
been better
alright.
if it did go to air.
I mean, it would have been so random.
Part of the comedy.
Yeah.
Could you get a follow from him online?
I don't know. I haven't reached out to him properly yet.
You're growing. You could be hustling follows.
I know. We're hustling.
Those big blue tick dogs. Start hustling the
What
blue
did you
tick.
get the blue tick? Have you got an official blue tick? Have you got like...
I don't.
It deducts out of your account every week.
Yeah, it deducts.
Yeah. Man, the deduction's tough.
It's cringe.
It's like I've got a friend on Premium Hinge.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a good...
It's cringe. However, when like social media is my job, you know, social media full-time job. So like...
Try don't think about that. That's wild.
So I may as well do everything I can to make it look as professional as possible.
Yes. True. Maybe I'll just get a blue tick after this.
Well, it is your job.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is like if social media crumbles on me, I can still go to comedy clubs.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing, you know, where I think sometimes in your influencer space, you're in a precarious position, you know?
It is, yeah. You're dead right. I'd like to say I could use my skills at a, you know, at a company or whatever.
Yeah.
But it would be hard to go from, you know, doing a TikTok for a brand deal to like working for someone. So I'm trying to not do that. I'm trying to not lose my whole career. We've been close. It's been on a knife's edge, Ferg. But it looks like we're coming out the other side.
Is this the first podcast you've done or maybe speaking about it?
It is. And
since the event.
I reckon I've got managers sitting at their office right now pulling their nails out. I've got brand deals listening in.
Well, we can kind of talk about in the peripheral.
Yeah.
It's one of your friends had a manic episode and went Super Saiyan, you know, and I feel like I can speak about this because you're not saying it. And, you know, I was watching it and I was like, if this was me, I'd have an hour of new material, you know, like it'd be amazing to have that in my catalog for stand up. But for you, you're like, am I going to lose everything that I've built in my life?
Yeah. I think the worst, and I don't want to talk too much about it just from the perspective. I don't need to like bring it up again. I don't feel like I need to defend myself. Like what's been done has been done. What's been said has been said. And the people who love me, they love me. So with that out the way, the worst thing to come out of this whole process was being associated to something called the Hype House.
Oh, yeah. Well, you were living in the Hype House.
Oh, mate. I didn't. Like, we've never called it that.
Well, now you're in my Hype House. What do you think?
Yeah, this Hype House is not a lot nicer than my Hype House because my Hype House has a tinge of Bryce Hall and the Dream Team. But yeah, like I'd say the worst thing to come out of it is the correlation to the Hype House, or being connected to something called the Hype House. And that took a few days to get over.
Because I think you're probably the first person we've had on this podcast who like went viral, and you probably didn't want to go viral. You know, like you were having these videos come out and you're like, oh, when does it end? So what's that like when you're watching it happen? Like, were you seeing it in real time? Like this individual who was making videos, were you watching it and going like, oh no? Like, was it in real life like a cathartic, like, please, for the love of God, no, stop?
Well, it's like, okay, well, like you exactly right. Like, did not want it to happen, obviously. Had a lot of people be like, nah, it's a setup. Like, they're all in on it.
That's what I thought. I thought it was a setup.
This ain't good for my career.
I thought this is one of the greatest PR stunts of all time. I was going to get some comedians to do it for me. Like, I thought we could pretend to have a falling out, and it's such a massive...
But at least you could control kind of what's going out there and stuff. And also, like, you can control the narrative and stuff. I suppose that's been the hardest part of everything, is like the lack of control over, firstly, what's getting posted, but secondly, like the narrative. Yeah. So I've been very fortunate, especially over the last like couple of years, of being maybe connected as like the good guy in between like Tom, Gab and myself. So, you know, that's completely getting thrown on its head and you know, quite the opposite, getting called like the dog of them all.
Damn. You've been villainified.
Yeah, absolutely. The villain. And, you know, difficult at times, but you remind yourself at the end of the day, Ferg, social media, it's actually not real.
So when it was happening, were you like stressed to go outside? Were you like, I might bump into someone, they may go, oh, Louis Phillips.
Yeah, a little. Not stressed to go outside. Fine. No one's ever said anything to my face.
Yeah. I think you have a lot more sound mind than the average person as well. It's good you went into this, like you have a little bit of, you know, stoicism within you. I reckon it could be inherent a little bit.
Thank you.
Whereas if this was happening to me, it would not go down.
You'd be so fine.
Oh, it'd be bad.
You'd be fine. Well, I think it's all about the people around you, especially. Like, I'm very lucky in that my mum she's a corporate coach. Yeah. So pretty much her job to deal with fuck ups.
That's amazing.
Like, it's this.
So she was navigating you through this in a way.
Literally. So between her and my managers and other people in my life, were able to get through it pretty swiftly and pretty comfortably. And, you know, you're getting death threats left, right and center. But at the end of the day, it's like from a 14-year-old behind a screen. You're not too concerned. But I remember like waking up one morning and like calling mum. We'd have our like daily call of like seeing what's been posted overnight. And then going, okay, this means this means that, this means this. And I remember waking up and just being like, this is so bad. It's all going to shit. And mum's just like, you're waking up thinking that everyone's kind of getting on their phone when they wake up to go, what's happening between Louis, Tom and Gab? No one gives a fuck. Like, no one actually cares.
Some people are invested though.
Yeah, they're invested, but like when they get onto their phone, they're like, oh, like this happened. Yeah. But it's not like it's consuming everyone's thoughts every single day. And I think once I got around that. Like,
some people, Louis, I'm going to tell you, some people are obsessed. Some people contacting me in message requests because I've been on your podcast asking me. I reckon I probably had like, it was high DMs about like the situation. They're watching it like it was maths, you know? Which is, I guess, like some kind of takeaway where it's like they're living vicariously because they're bored, you know? So they're watching this whole thing crumble. Yeah. Because even knowing you, and I don't think I reached out to you during the time because I'm like, he's going to sort this out. Yeah, just need Ferguson to be like, this is what you should do.
Good luck, team.
But I thought it was a setup for so long. I'm like, this has to be a setup because the drama was so high, you know? And when he turned up with
the drama.
When he turned up with a GoPro. The GoPro was next level. I was so tempted to rent a GoPro today. I wasn't going to buy one because I'll never use it again, but to rent a GoPro today and just have the pod, you know, be from that perspective again.
Mate, the GoPro thing. Now let me, I'll come out and say like that wasn't right. I shouldn't have been laughing at him and shouldn't have been filming. And
it was a high emotional state.
Hugely high. Like, I guess for for context, you know, like for the 48 hours beforehand, I felt as though I'd been really like wrongly done.
Yes.
So
defamed almost.
Defamed on social media. So naturally you see someone in person like, oh, here you are. Anyway, so but the biggest thing to come out of all of that was, you're filming, like you shouldn't be filming Gab. It's like, well, hang on, what are you watching it on to watch me filming?
Yeah,
like, he was filming us as well.
It was almost like a war of the influences. You know what I mean? It was his cam versus your cam.
Yeah.
It was like, Dumbledore and Harry Potter when the spells like fighting and it's like going each way because you both have evidence of what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's like, who gets to control the narrative in a way?
What good comes out of it?
Nothing good comes out of it. Yeah. Nothing good came out of him either. Like, that's a weird thing.
Sitting here with our dick in our hands.
Yeah.
So
it'd be amazing if I just popped up in the stream. You know what I mean? If I was there in the bushes filming as well as like a third eye.
The collateral damage.
Yes.
Well, it was quite funny seeing like different people pop up, and then there was one guy. Shout out to him, KFC Sam. He did this incredible like monologue, and
that reflected well on you. I felt like
I think it went.
I think it helped you in that sense. In the sense that we have like a. I think because I knew what was happening and I knew there was a key piece of evidence where kind of you were being set up, especially when you were filmed talking to someone. And I'm like, oh, this is obviously a setup. But then some people didn't know that was set up. And then he said it was. And I feel like that helped you.
Yeah, I think so.
Some people are listening probably going like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, true. I forgot we got mics here. I feel like you're my therapist.
I think the last 3 episodes, like looking back, a lot of comedians and then let's get Louis on to talk about the greatest drama of all time.
The greatest ever. Yeah, well, I think that video helped me a little bit. I found, like any kind of air in the situation just wasn't ideal in general though.
Yes.
So I just like how can we make it go away? Yes, I want to give my side, I want to give my point, but you're actually never going to change the mind of people who have already made up their mind, generally speaking. So I kind of, once I understood that, you lose a couple of followers. They're like more sided with Gab and that's like so fine. He has his fans and his followers and that's great. And I have mine. So like once I figured that out, it was like, okay, well, whatever, like get on with it. And you got your family around, they love you and you can just kind of put up with any messages you get and any hate messages you get. It's quite funny though. I put up a post the other day saying, like it's been a tough couple of weeks. Some of the messages I've got are pretty atrocious, but like it's never going to stop me. And I put the messages up on the thing and I actually had a few people like you see the message thread, like they'd reply back to it and be like, actually, I was so wrong for saying this. Like, I'm so sorry. So it's clear that like in the heat of the moment, kids are they're sending it off and they're kids. Like they're all children who are sending these messages. But there's like seeing that thought process is quite interesting. And I'm not saying like I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not saying I did anything wrong necessarily. Like I'll cop whatever comes my way, but there needs to be some level of understanding of like when emotions are high, people are not, responding accordingly.
Yeah. I always got taught that. So my dad said like when someone's angry at you, often there's more going on with them.
Yeah.
It's like if I got angry at someone, it's probably, it's not really to do with them, Like if I'm in a happy state, I don't really get angry naturally,
100%. And you think through like the type of individual that would send like, for instance, one of them was like put a gun in your mouth and pull the trigger. Damn. It's like that's a lot, man. And
that's
like,
a lot. That,
I can read that and not put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger. Like that, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
But then you think through like the type of individual that would like the anger that they must have. It's like, I actually feel really quite sorry for you.
Totally.
Man.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've got. Because there's been a couple, shenanigans on this podcast, but I don't think I've ever... I think one time I did a podcast when the Hong Kong protest movement was going on. And this is such a veer away from Melbourne influences.
Yeah, well, that's...
But that guy followed me, the leader of the Hong Kong protest movement. I just did a podcast with him while he was like being bombed in a university. I should put that episode up. It was a great episode. And I just got all these messages from bots, I think, Chinese bots who are like, we're coming for you. And that's scary, like Gab's one thing, but the Chinese Communist Party, that's, what I mean?
You're mixing with the wrong crowd there. Yeah, and they're not 14 either,
No.
Unfortunately.
When I was flying to Europe, I was almost going to fly Eastern China Air and I had like a friend reach out and he's like, don't do it. Just, you know what I mean?
Just be
little
smart.
Things. Yeah.
It is your life at the end of the day. And you don't know how kind of like untapped an individual is.
Totally.
Like you're not quite sure how far they'll go.
Has this changed your perspective on friendship? Like, do you have a different model when you're looking at people because you've, in a way, like, because you were betrayed, in a sense, like you have a trust and you have something with someone and then they pull the rug out. Does it make you kind of look at people different?
Yeah, well, I mean, so like had a trust and then they pull the rug out kind of thing. I mean, I guess like Gab would feel the same, if not 10 times more towards me. So like, it could work both ways, but I don't think it's changed my idea of like how I go about friendships, maybe letting new people into my circle less likely. I think, like we were speaking about it before we flick the mics on. It's just like that as you get older and like you've got all these years of this digital footprint, like now I'm really thinking about that because, when you're getting threats, like helpless threats of like, I'm going to post screenshots of a group chat. Yeah. It's like, I've known this kid for 12 years. Like, I don't know what I could have said anything and a whole lot more. And he said just as much, but I would never like post them. So it's definitely changed how I go about my conversations online.
Yeah.
I'm squeaky clean now. Like I'm not going to give anyone the opportunity anymore to like have that ammunition on me and screenshot, Yeah,
because I guess most people have had things in group chats where they say a joke or something that they probably would prefer that doesn't go out to like, the whole internet.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't think about that until someone has a screenshot of that. They're like, I'm going to post this if you don't do this or something like that. And
like, as we were saying, like if you're in these group chats with your friends, it's like, oh, well, Jimbo wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like we're really close mates. But it's like, well, hang on, what if Jimbo has like a mental breakdown? What if like, merely posing the question, what if Jimbo is like goes through a manic episode and is not actually being Jimbo and he starts posting it? Well, it's like, well, then you're cooked. Yeah. So I don't know, and I'm not saying that was Gab. I'm sure he was in control and all of that. But like that was very kind of, it's been big for me over the last month or so. I was like, no, I need to be squeaky clean on nights out. I need to be squeaky clean behind a screen. Like I've got brands that rely on me. I've got like family and friends who want me to uphold a certain image of who I actually am. Totally. So that's been the side of it.
It's interesting because I feel like growing up, we're around the same age. Like you always have things in primary school, high school, digital footprint. I feel like they kept reminding us, but I don't know. We just didn't, you don't think it's going to come back up when you're in your 20s, and even stuff now could come up in your 30s or 40s or it's so interesting.
And it will, and it keeps coming up, and it's probably going to be more and more manufactured as well with AI and the ability to, like someone was telling me the other day, the fact you and I the fact I have a podcast or you have a podcast, like AI will be able to grab our voice,
be generated,
and it will say anything. Yeah, you've seen the Joe Rogan stuff, or like Jordan Peterson, or is like Biden as well. Like there's all these generated AI things. Yeah, well, that's pretty scary.
So it could be like, even if 9 to 5 has ended now, we could get AI to just make an episode with you and Gap, where nothing has happened and you guys are still,
mate, still together.
On the last episode, did you know it was the last episode?
No, the last episode we were talking about, we were talking about doing a live podcast.
Oh, that'd be great now.
I was actually really
in an octagon.
I was actually really excited for it as well. Like I was really keen. It was going to be so fun. I'd love to host. And you know what? Ferg, you could.
Let's get ready to rumble. Touch gloves, boys.
Like I can't fight.
Would you do a KSI Logan Paul thing where you two? Because the ticket on that'd be
$2 million. I'd do it.
Would brands would they like drop you if you had like a wrestling?
I think so. I think any kind of just like bring it all up and stuff. It's just brands aren't gonna be too happy.
Yeah. I think he would do it though.
Yeah, I think he probably wants to punch my lights out. To be honest. No, I think he's moved on a little bit.
That's good.
I think things have settled and we can all get back to doing. I just want to make running content, Ferg.
Totally. That's the hard thing. Is like you're trying to run out there. You're just running laps around. I won't say the athletics track, but around an athletics track. And you're just doing laps and laps, and this is happening in your zeitgeist.
Literally. And
did running help? The stress, or was you like, oh shit, I've got to run, or were you like, I'm gonna take this out on the pavement?
Yeah, I don't think it didn't help my running too much. It kind of all blew up just after I finished my marathon. So
that's annoying. You get like post-marathon depression a little bit because you've just achieved something big. You don't know what's the next goal.
You do, and then you also get like a sense of like, all right, I'm going to have a blowout for 2 weeks. Yeah. It really ruined my blowout. You
didn't get to enjoy the blowout.
I didn't get to enjoy the blowout. Yeah. So, that was annoying. But the running, I'm getting back into the running a fair bit and getting fit and healthy again. But it certainly did help. The biggest help throughout it all was definitely like friends and family, like people around me. If anything, it's brought me so much closer to everyone around me. True. Which has been nice.
Also because you're automatically vulnerable. You're like, I need help. Yeah. I need help.
Literally. I remember calling back, mate, after like 20 videos had been leaked. I got 700 kids in my DMs telling me to go kill myself. And, I just remember calling him, mate, be like, bro, I don't think I can come back from this. Like, I don't, like, just from a career perspective, I don't think.
Okay. There's one point where you're like, oh, this might be the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I was explaining to someone the other night. It was like, if 100% is your career's over, I reckon I was at 99.5.
Really? I don't think you were ever really in
Actually,
risk.
definitely not the case. No.
I don't reckon you were at risk.
Not really, but it feels like it at the time.
Yeah. These things always blow over. That's the interesting thing as well. You know, like if you give it time, it blows over.
Yeah.
Maybe not for the other party involved, but I feel like, you know, at some point.
I mean, hopefully it blows over for everyone. Like,
Would you guys ever so you wouldn't describe yourself as friends right now?
No, probably not. But the funny thing is, Ferg.
Yeah.
You
can see the podcast.
I saw him last night.
Yeah, you told me.
I told you, yeah. At an event. And it was actually really nice to see him. Like, I would never... I guess that's been, like, the hard part of the... like the GoPro video is like implying that like I'm gonna bash him, and mate, I couldn't do anything to him. Like,
I don't remember that part of it.
Well, it's just like he's a bully, and you know you can tell like they're ganging up on him, and he needs to bring his dad to pick up his stuff because the dad knows karate. It's like, well, I'm not gonna. No, look, he's 90 kilos. I'm 60 ripping.
If you were getting fucking karate by
his dad.
an older man by someone's dad.
But I saw him last night. We had a nice chat. And, I keep copying shit for saying like I wish him all the best. It's like, oh, he doesn't actually wish him all. It's like, no, I genuinely like I want his career. I want him to like do well. Now I might not be in the picture, and that's okay. But like I want him to flourish. I want him to have, because I think his impact on social media is huge. Like he can do a lot for young men if the right message is promoted, which it often is by him, like can be so valuable. So I want that to happen. But I keep copying shit like, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's like, well, fuck, I can't win. But anyway, we're not mates at this stage.
Yeah, and for people who are tuning in who are like, bring back friendly Geordies, this is a situation that's happened essentially. You were in a business partnership with your good friend. I might put this at the start of the podcast. You were in a business partnership with your good friend, and then some miscellaneous events happened, and you had a falling out over some like brand deals, but also maybe there was some like underlying tensions, and then it could have just filtered away, but then emotions were high, and then the situation kind of played out through social media videos that were both intermittently going viral. You know, because like he'd post some, and then there was like side accounts that were posting some. Yeah. You know, I posted that one of us, and I got like 100,000 views. The one where I'm like, the algorithm's chosen you.
That was at the peak. I remember thinking, thanks, Ferg. really helped me out here, brother. Because it was very in jest in the podcast.
Yes.
That's fine, mate. We survived it. Hey, I'm glad you got your 100,000 views. I almost lost my whole fucking career.
Was that really at the peak?
I reckon that was the peak.
Damn.
From memory.
Yeah.
I mean, you got in.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was funny. Every podcast. I reckon you were the catalyst as well. Because every podcast Gab and I had been on for the last 6 months were uploading clips. And like pretty provocative clips as well. I remember saying one, like, I just did your podcast the other day, like just on my own. Like, hang on.
Well, because I guess
mean, a message would be all right, lads. Not from you. It's fine. I loved what you did, but
yeah, because I feel like our podcast in a way, I reckon people thought that was contemporary. It hadn't happened 2 months ago, so I was getting messages from people about that particular podcast that are just still in my message requests.
Did you? Oh, you should have sent them the link. At least I could have got some views out of it.
Did you notice a jump in your numbers, podcast numbers and stuff?
Yeah, it did. Was handy for the podcast numbers. But I mean, I didn't talk about it. This is the most I've actually spoken about it. So hopefully it doesn't push anyone over, you know, or doesn't kind of spark anything else. But been stressful. And it's you're going to need to put that bit at the start, I think, to explain to people what happened.
I think you'd be surprised how many people caught up on this situation. You know, I think a lot of people who I'm like even, you know, my housemate who's a doctor, his doctor friends are like, oh, I saw you on, you know, I'm like, what you're a cardiologist. Like, how do you know about this? You know
time for this, man.
They're like, you know, when they're doing operations, they're listening to 9 to 5 beef, you know?
The 40-minute YouTube video. Leaving the hive house.
What a such a good bit. I love the bit how it just like, it fades in and he's just sitting there like, I was going to do a spoof where I'd be wearing a singlet and do the exact same thing. But I just thought, let's not get too involved.
That's best to stay away, mate.
Yeah.
Best to stay away.
It's surely, I think so. There was anxiety there where you're like, okay, is this going to end or is this going to like negatively affect my career? But in a way, like I feel like on your personal page, I'll just ignore it. You know what I mean? If I just ignore it, then it'll just kind of, it'll play itself out. Was that kind of like the thinking behind it or just
I think so. And also like from the point of like, well, I'm pretty comfortable and confident that I didn't do anything wrong to an extent.
Yeah.
Like, so initially the first thing was like that I hooked up with his ex. It's like I categorically know that did not happen.
I remember that little rumor,
like,
yeah.
That's kind of what said it all. Like I categorically know that did not happen. That would never happen. I would never. I will never.
But I thought it was just a video of you talking to his ex-girlfriend and they're just talking.
Correct.
That's the interesting thing, I think. Yeah, like,
filmed.
Yes, like that's the interesting thing. It's like, also there's a weird assumption that if you just talk to any girl that it can't be platonic. That's a weird thing as well. Like, you should be able to talk to someone's ex-partner in like an amiable way. Yeah. And it's not a bad thing.
You would think
But the idea of seeing you two and then him behind a pillar filming on an iPhone 10 is just... It's just so wild. It's so crazy. I wish I was there.
Yeah.
How do I get into these influencer events?
You'd actually be good at these influencer
I would
events.
have so much fun.
You would have. You could like go around do interviews and stuff.
Yeah. I feel like though, you know, sometimes like, you know, comedians like, you know, I'd have to make sure that I present, I dress up, you know what I mean? I make sure that everything, you know, I've had a couple, you know, collagen powder in the water and, you know, I've gone and got a clean shave from the barber.
We'll get you a month at the Hype House and we'll sort you out. That'd be.
Are you looking for a new, like, did you ever think like to put the Hype House onto Fairy Floss Real Estate or something and be like, we've got a humble abode, we've got an opening in the...
It would be wild. Imagine if we did that. No, a lot of people know where we live. That's as I was saying to you before, I can't go into that too much.
Yeah, but you're going to yeet, aren't you? You got to get out of there.
I think it's a little bit too risky now. You
Damn.
know? Like, bro, you don't realise, like, I don't realise how big social media is for especially like younger generations. Like, I'm through all of this, it's like they don't really give a shit about the movies. It's more about like TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
So like, if they figure out where you live and stuff, like they're gonna show up.
Yeah.
And that is a common occurrence.
Damn, so there's like little kids just turning up to your house.
Yeah, I'd say most days.
Most days. How old are they?
Between 14 to 18, probably.
And so their parents are dropping them off like,
well, it's school holidays. Shocking time for us. School holidays.
So school holidays, so like I'm thinking about when I'm 15. So like you wake up and like you sleep into 11 because you don't have school. You go to Timmy's house and Timmy's like, oh, we're going to the Hype House today. Yeah, let's go for a walk to the Hype House. And what? They get to the front of the house and they're like, Louis.
Yeah, correct.
You're a dog.
You're a dog.
Do they do that?
A little bit of that. No, often they're quite nice.
Yeah.
Like we've had some bad ones. I actually can't go into it because every time we talk about it, it happens again.
Okay. We can edit this bit out if you want.
Yeah, no, it should be all right. I just have to tread carefully. But
what's the most people you've had in front of the house at one time?
10?
10 kids.
10 kids.
They look like scary. You know when you see you walking, they don't let innocent
scary.
kids.
They just want to see Tom.
I'm sorry, not I heard that.
Dude, just give me the address as well.
There's going to be a lot of comedy fans out the front now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you've weathered this amazingly well. Like I'm surprised like you don't seem shook off by it. Where it's like you kind of been, you know, and you don't have any bitterness or resentment where like you've been dragged through the mud. You know, sometimes I can get a little bit angry if I'm on a comedy lineup and a friend bumps me. You know what I mean? He's like, I got to go to another gig. So I'm going to go, fuck. You know what I mean? You know,
I think, like the biggest thing has been like understanding. And now this is all a bit woo-woo wah-wah, but like forgiveness is so important. And not necessarily forgiving Gab or he doesn't need to forgive me, but just general forgiveness of like, all right, just put it, like you just got to move on with life. Otherwise, because I could get really angry and like there's been certain things along the way. It's like if this happens, then I'm going to fucking lose it.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like if I...
you do like re-entering the Hype House YouTube video.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I shouldn't say that, but like I'd get close to be honest because it's like, all right, if you're gonna take everything from me, then let's go.
Totally, you know? It's like mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, exactly.
Russia and America just firing nukes.
Like, fuck it, let's press the button. Yeah. So it's been like, it's been difficult behind closed doors. Really, really difficult actually. Totally. But like, what are you gonna get out of it by snapping? What are you going to get out of it by like completely losing it and going off and, you know, getting online and mouthing off? Like you're not going to, no one's going to gain anything from that. So that's just been my mindset through it, really.
Yeah. What's the biggest lesson from it? Like the takeaway? Because it happens so quick as well. Because you were on Jack Tossel's podcast as well, like having dinner, you know, that felt like the night before you guys were having a nice rump steak or something like that. It was
the nicest dinner. I hope I get to go back there.
It's a lovely house.
Beautiful house.
Yeah.
And like the feed was just,
it looked good.
I would pay a lot of money.
When I was on his podcast,
feed.
I didn't get a meal. I just want to say that front. No.
Yeah.
He actually forgot he forgot his roadcaster. So we had to drive back to my house here and grab my fucking I was supplying equipment for the pod. There's no rump steak.
Really?
No rump steak.
Maybe you get it next time.
I hope so, yeah.
I think it's 100K plus. It's when you start getting it.
Even like, I reckon like, again, I was saying before the pod, when this was all happening, I was opening for Blake Pavey which is always good, you know, as like a 5-year comedian to open for a 1-year comedian at a 500 seat. I'm like, how the fuck is he doing this?
How does this happen?
But he killed. I had a fun time. I had a real fun time as well. And like we're talking in the car on the way there, and one of his friends apparently, Gab had posted an Instagram like collage where he was tagged in one of the collages, and he was like, "Why the fuck am I embroiled in this now?" But I feel like if you're in the influencer space, you go into these events, and you guys are just going to be swimming in the same pond anyway.
Yeah, I think so. That's why I went up to him last night and said hi. It's like, well, if we're going to be in these events, like I would prefer for it not to be awkward. Like I'm happy to be in the same room as him. I have no issues whatsoever.
Was there any tension?
Nah, like literally.
He didn't like.
No, not at all. Like he's not an aggressive person, and I'm not either.
Yeah,
we're both so not aggressive, and I guess that's where it's kind of like, you know, you're sitting in a room on your own for like 6 hours looking at social media, or like you can almost build this persona of like being this scary individual, whether he did that or not, whether I did that or not. Like you can build this persona of being like, you know, a force to be reckoned with, but like then you see him in person, it's like, it's Gab. It's good to see him, you know.
Yeah, I guess it's a big thing about optics as well. You know, it's like what people perceive you online versus what's actually happening in reality. Because definitely when I'm online too much, like my brain feels almost like fucking algorithmic.
Yeah.
Like it feels like I'm thinking in those little bites, you know, like those little...
Especially when you're getting success on social media.
Yeah, both.
Like, you'd be right in that
both are bad. It's like, you know, even good stuff on social media can make your brain feel weird.
Well, you're thinking algorithm, well, if I posted this, then I can post that. Like, and you just keep chasing and you keep clawing. And then... but that's kind of like you have to do it. Like it's your job at the end of the day. I remember getting really wound up and in my head about my screen time and like trying to set limitations on my screen time for my phone. And like I'm an influencer. I'm a social, like it's my job is to be on my phone.
Yeah.
And then I remember one day just being like, fuck it, I'm just going to like go hell for leather. It doesn't matter. Turn off all the screen time limitations. And after I did that, like all my content improved because I
felt a release.
Yeah, but I just got obsessive about it. Allowed myself to get obsessive. Now, like the ramifications down the track is like, holy shit, I've spent the last month on my phone 6 hours, 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
But hey, you've made a bit of a career out of it, so it's worth it.
True. When you're running, will you be on your phone? Like, will you still check Instagram and?
Nah, I leave the phone at the car. I just got this new Apple Watch though, and trying to understand the kind of like how to turn notifications off because like I'll check to see if I've got a text or whatever, and then it just ruins your whole flow.
Yeah. You know? I feel like it's interesting. Maybe people listening as well. I don't reckon we've had someone who's like made a career from being an influencer, you know, and like, is there some pressure in the sense that like you're in a way dependent on brands to, you know, hold you up, you know, like in a way comedians can just put on a show and people come and, you know, they speak into a mic. But if you're an influencer, you do have this added pressure and added weight where it's like, well, if this gets out or someone says this, then I actually lose my income.
100%. And probably been like one of the biggest stresses throughout this whole process. I'm very lucky that I've got great brand deals. Like if you're going to sign with someone, they better be like, you know, on your side, understanding you. Like, I don't want to be getting messages from my brand deals when all this shit's going down, going, what's going on? Like, it's like, yeah, we're stressed too. Like, I know this shit's going, we're nervous too, okay? Let's wait and see.
Yeah.
But definitely a stress. I lost one brand deal from all of it.
Okay, that's a pretty good outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, it was a small one, so.
That's great.
Let it, yeah, I'll never use that. It was food. It was a food container thing.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that one before.
Anyway, but other than that, like all fine. But definitely, there's definitely stress behind it, and like that's where that comment of like robotic influences come in, because like the idea from like a macro environment is that like you're so governed by what the sponsors are telling you to do. So you're like a robotic influencer. But if you have the right brand deals, then you shouldn't have to be like that. And I think I'm there.
I think when I met you the first time, I think I just signed a brand deal with a pancake parlor.
Nice,
and
I remember you saying that.
If this happened to me, Pancake Parlor, they're not ride or die with Fergus Neal. They're not ride or die.
Flick you on your head straight away.
I'm getting out straight away. They're like, don't mention us ever again.
Yeah.
It's over,
Yeah.
you know? But that's good. You got people who are like, oh, we're just going to kind of ride or die. This will pass.
Yeah. I mean, they're not right or die. It's certainly, if one more thing comes out. No, but I think
What would you do? Can I ask you a question? I'm interested in this. What would you do worst case scenario, right? And like this is again this stoicism thing about like Seneca would imagine like the worst case scenario and whether he could survive that. If like during this whole saga, if you lost every brand deal, right? No brand deals, and you're just kind of floating around, what then would you do? Like where would you pivot towards? Would you be like, okay, I'm going to rebuild this image?
Yeah.
Or would you be like, I'm going to do something else?
Yeah, I think I'd rebuild. Yeah, anyone can survive a scandal.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like doesn't matter what it is, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Unless you start getting into like the big three, like racism, sexual abuse.
Yeah.
What would it be? I don't know, pedophilia.
Mate, you said the big three, you got to have them.
Yeah, I think those are it. Unless you're getting like into the depths of those, like you can generally come back from things.
Yes.
So I did think about worst case. That was one of my mum's teachings. Was like, think worst case. What is it? And I was like, well, I suppose like losing everything. You know. And she said, well, you're 24. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
You're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And I thought it through, and I think I would have just gone back to the drawing board, like social media. Keep going with it. Yeah, you lose a few followers. I'm sure you'd still have a couple, and you can kind of build from there and do like what I do best, which is creating content. On the other side is like I've been running, free programming for people for the last since the start of the year.
Yeah.
So well, then you could start look at charging for programming and stuff. And the reason I'm able to run it for free is because I have brand deals.
Yeah.
That allows me to do that. I could start charging for it and make a pretty good penny for it. I'd imagine. So I'd probably switch that over to a paid version and, build it up again.
Yeah. Did Prime try and get slapped harder, you think, than you?
I'd say so, yeah.
Was he when he was playing footy, was he getting people yelling stuff out?
Yeah. He did for sure. Less in person, online though.
Yeah.
Copying it. I mean, we both copped online, but yeah, he had it pretty rough. Did
you guys ever think at one point, let's just throw our phones in the ocean for a month?
Yeah.
And just not.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the thing is you kind of need to be on your phone to put out spot fires.
Yes.
So it's quite funny that there'd be situations where I'd be talking to my friend Charlie, who I run with.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh mate, tomorrow 6 a.m. we'll go for a run, do a 10K. And then 8 p.m, the 40-minute video drops.
I remember that night.
Yeah, and it's fuck.
I was watching that at a gig.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I was backstage. I came out kind of frazzled because it made me anxious watching it. You know what I mean? I'm fuck, this is...
The music was kind of
yes.
So you get...
Cinematic.
Quite cinematic.
Cinematic, yeah.
Not well edited, apparently, according to Keelan.
Yeah, I heard that.
But so so when that happens is you actually have to be up for the next 3 hours, putting out spot fires, responding to a few messages and stuff, and just trying to steady the ship. So it's the next day you can't go for the run, and that's kind of the biggest effect of it all.
Yeah.
It's I'm going to need to sleep in tomorrow because I'll be up till 2.
Damn. It's why it kind of sometimes in these situations, even witnessing them, and also sometimes being in controversy as well. I'm always if I've had these things happen to me in the last 6 months, what's going to happen over the next 3 years? These things inevitably, there have to be other spot fires that come up.
It's coming.
And
yeah.
you just hope that your psyche and I guess your value system can respond to those spot fires, respond to those events as they come. I see it happen to comedians, older comedians, and whatever they say something or they get cancelled or something, and I see them and they're just even this British comedian who I met during the Comedy Fest, he was on Strictly Come Dancing in the UK, and he got cancelled because he kissed someone who wasn't his wife. Which is bad.
Not
Never
good.
cheat.
Shouldn't cheat.
But on the scale of that to like murder, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not illegal.
And he got like, he was having panic attacks like a year on from it. I'm like, bro, I don't want to be, you know what I mean? I don't want to have.
Well, that's that thing.
He seemed affected by it, and it was affecting his performance at Comedy Fest as well because we're in rooms next to each other. And I was like, this is kind of scary.
It is scary.
You know?
You've done well in staying out of like the like it's not personal. Like the abuse towards you is like the sense I get. Like your scandals that you've had are more like kind of like Ferg Neil the comedian versus
true.
It's not like Ferg Neil is racist. True. You know, it's not like Ferg Neil is a bully. Because like when that stuff, that's when the panic attacks.
That's
like,
interesting. I didn't think about that.
You know?
Yeah, it wasn't like reflecting on me as a person.
No, and like you're almost encouraged to do that as a comedian.
Yeah.
So
yeah, in a way, like I think other comedians were jealous when it's like, oh, you got to be in the Daily Mail and it says Aussie comedian slammed. It's like in a way, it actually gives you more credit. I got gigs from that.
You should do.
You know,
that.
people
like,
message me.
You should be searching for it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So if I was your manager, I'd be saying.
Get involved.
Cause a ruckus.
Well, as I say to you, the Daily Mail journalists are always watching my stories. I'm like, are they just waiting for me to sleep?
But they don't follow you, do they?
No, they're just watching.
Just a follow.
And they come up first, which I'm not sure what that means when they come up first on the story. Does that
There
just
is
mean,
something to do with the
what
algorithm.
What the fuck does that mean? Does that mean they're just on my page?
I'm pretty sure like the first like 10 are the people who are most interested like in your page.
Yes.
So it shows you bang.
Yeah.
And then under that, it's like a randomized.
Well, it's even like Adam Bant sharing one of my videos. And then people responding to his Instagram stories saying that, oh, Ferg's talked shit about you on his podcast.
Fantastic.
You know, so there's some weird things like that happen, you know, where you just, you can't really, you know, what can you control? What can't you control? You know, being a comedian, you're going to talk a little bit of smack and that might come back around.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, my recommendation to you, mate, would be to stay squeaky clean in the
digital footprint.
The thing is, in
I'm
your digital
too far
footprint.
gone.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, no one's ever going to be squeaky clean. Like, you are going to have a scandal if you continue doing this live.
And you're doing like a, you know, if you're in the public, you know,
bound to happen.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. Just about. It's just like the damage. How much is the damage going to be?
Yeah, one day, like. Definitely, I think when I see people online get heat, I definitely think like if everybody had experienced that heat, they would maybe have a little bit more like empathy for the situation. You know, it's like, it is kind of like witch trials. It's like, people froth burning other people online? Like they get like a weird kind of joy from it, you know, with like, oh, this feels good. It's like a toxic element of the human psyche.
Definitely. A couple things there. It's like one thing I learned when I was coming up with my running stuff, when it was exploding, my videos are getting millions of views. Like, people love watching you rise.
Yes.
But boy, do they love watching you fall.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
But like the fall side is, you know, just the excitement. You can feel it in their messages. Like, yes, you're finally going
it's
down,
Macbethian.
you prick. Yeah. Like, burn, you will die. That was definitely interesting. It was like watching that kind of happen.
You think some people like almost celebrating, oh, Louis.
100%.
Really?
Yeah, or even maybe less so personally.
Yeah.
More so like NTF, like splitting up.
Yeah.
You know, I think people hate seeing like a friendship flourish online. And then especially if it's like two like
true
relatively in good shape, like guys.
Yeah.
Who are speaking their minds on a podcast. Like nothing better than watching him like split up, and not only split up, like publicly publicly. So yeah.
Combust.
Oh, fucking, and boom.
It was huge.
Boom.
I was surprised in the sense that the videos were getting like millions of views each. Was that a fear? Were you like, why are people so interested in this? Did you think that?
Yeah, once you get past 1 million views though, it gets a whole, like, I think one of them got 10 mil.
Becomes transcendent.
Well, it's like.
One of them got 10 mil?
Yeah, one of them got 10 million views.
That's half Australia.
Someone said to me last night, I was like, thanks. But you start, like, you're getting people from like America and like India.
Yeah, they're getting
like
involved.
Different. Well, but they also have no clue like what the go is.
Yes.
So it's like you're not too. It's like once it's past 1 million, it's like I reckon the getting to 500K, seeing that I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And 1 million, I was like and then 10 million, I was like, we'll go if you're gonna do it.
Go hard.
I might start running sponsored ads on it. What was I gonna say? I had something for you. the other thing I noticed like through this whole process, I've completely forgotten what it was.
We're talking about like people being like, you know, loving to see the downfall.
Yeah, sorry, this is what it was. Like, another thing I've learnt from it all is in the past when I've seen scandals online, I jump to a conclusion straight away. I'd like this is what happened, what a dog. Yeah. I've learnt in a very difficult way, there is always two sides to the story. Yeah. You know? So I suppose that's been like that's probably my biggest learning through it. Yeah. Like how I conduct myself in reading articles and taking information on like from online. Like you do want to hear two sides of the story, especially when one side is so adamant on being silent.
Yeah, it's wild. I feel even scared to say aerobic Gabe. You know what I mean? Because I feel like in a way, my podcast was a juncture, maybe in the friendship.
Yeah,
was it?
It was. No, it was actually taken quite well.
Okay, it's good.
It's quite funny, and like we were all very close at the time.
Yes.
So I thought it was hilarious.
Would you ever start like a new 9 to 5 style, like you and another running influencer or something?
Potentially in the future. It wouldn't be this, like we couldn't recreate that 9 to 5 thing. 10 to 4. Yes. Just make it really like blatantly obvious. Talking about lifting and drama. No, I wouldn't do it like that. I would like to do a different podcast though that's not like running based. I'm feeling like I love doing my running podcast and I will continue to do that.
Yeah, bored with it.
Well, it's like not bored, but like I want to have a platform where I can talk about anything, you know?
True, because I guess that was the beauty of 9 to 5 is that you guys were, yes, and you guys would have different topics you guys would just discuss.
Yeah, it was like we do fitness, we do running, then we do dating.
Yes.
Like, and I actually don't have much to say on the dating side, you know, but like I'd love to talk about just random stuff like comedy. And whereas now it's like, well, if I get a comedian on my podcast, which I continue to do and I will continue to do, it's like, well, do my listeners, like, do they respond well to that?
If they're coming in here running.
Maybe
and they hear Ferg talking about aerobic Gabe.
But then again, my theory is like, yeah, exactly. Like my theory is like if you're listening to my running podcast, it's because you might be going for a run and stuff. So it's like, I want to give you something to take your mind off it.
Yes.
To an extent. You know, I've had my mum on it. I've had you on it, and Blake Pavey, like, you know. Yeah,
a lot of varied individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm shocked by how stoic you are throughout this whole situation.
Thanks, mate.
You know?
It's been so tough. It's been like the toughest thing I reckon I've had to deal with to an extent.
In a way, do you feel kind of unbreakable now that you've gone through the worst?
Not unbreakable. I feel like I can see how quickly it can be taken away. Yeah. I feel grateful. I feel very grateful. Like,
I don't think about that enough. I don't think about
you don't need to until it happens.
Because I have fun, you know, like I enjoy my life and I love doing comedy gigs and stuff. But I'm like, true, I never thought about that. If you get cancelled, then you can't do comedy clubs for that. They're like, sorry, Phil, we can't put you on.
Yeah,
it's like you forget that you could just lose.
Yeah.
That.
What do you? If you were going to have a scandal, what do you think it would be?
I mean, there's kind of been. I haven't like I feel like my natural like disposition is like I'm not really like hateful towards anyone, you know, like I'm pretty happy-go-lucky, hopefully. I think it'd be something that I do on stage because when I'm on stage, I'm having so much fun. And if the audience is laughing, I'll just keep digging into something, you know, and like maybe someone will film something or, you know, but it's in a comedy club.
Yeah, I feel
it's not that bad.
Standing up on that
comedians
stage.
Get cancelled, they actually often get bigger.
Yeah.
You know, and that's happened to me in every circumstance.
Who did SNL?
Shane Gillis.
Yes.
Flying now. Yeah, I met Shane Gillis.
That's right.
Yeah, he had like because my friend James McCann opened for him. So it's like, yeah, his career is like gone, you know.
He's one of my favorites.
In a way, I think people like the villain, you know. Like, did you get more girls DMing you because of the villain aspect? Because you had this like nice guy, Louis Phillips, and it's like, oh, now he's got a slightly controversial tinge to him, you know?
Yeah, maybe. Might have. A lot of messages of support.
That must have been hard to filter through the message request. It's like, okay.
Yeah, kill yourself. How do I go on a date with you? Which one's that? Oh, okay. You look at it, put a gun in your mouth, pull the trigger and... Holy shit, man. That is so rough.
It's rough.
And then can we go on a date?
Did you respond to him when he said that? Nah. Like, were you like, this is heavy, dude. You got to check yourself.
Nah, just screenshot. Screenshot. Don't respond to any of it.
You just turn your message request off.
No, I quite enjoyed it.
They are fun.
It's quite funny.
It's fun to see what pops up in there.
I still get a random one like who's just seen the video, which now has like 11 million views. Like, you're a flog. It's like, bro, it's 3 weeks ago. we're past it now. Bit late to the party, king. But yeah, I don't think I didn't really increase too many messages from girls and stuff. The villain thing, not ideal for the brand in general. I don't want to be the villain.
So you don't believe that all publicity is good publicity?
No, I don't after this.
Really?
Actually, maybe I do. Because I felt a real push, drive, and want to do good now.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, I'm like flying out to Sydney today.
Okay.
I'm doing I want to do a group run there. And like, I'm going to Sydney to see some mates. Like, we're going to have a couple of beers just over the weekend. And I don't think I would have gone and done this group run. But because like now I've seen how important community is and how important like my followers are to me, I need to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to, like to be involved with them and see them in person. The other thing is like, doing charity stuff. I obviously did that thing with Hugh Knox and he did like a charity run. I helped like promote it with the MS stuff. So like my thing now has been, I need to do good. Like I don't want to be connected to being a bully. I don't want to be connected to all the shit that's happened over the last couple of weeks. So now let's lock in and do the running stuff. Let's make people happy and make people laugh.
You'll probably look back on it and go like, that was actually a positive thing to happen retrospectively.
Maybe. I think, yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, long way off, Ferg, but it could be hard, mate. I remember, just like, as long as I didn't lose my career, people in my life, whether that be a girl or mates, like if I lost any of those because of like as a catalyst of this, then like I'd be furious. But I didn't, so
wow,
we push on.
We've been speaking for an hour. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. They're kind of like, I hope I didn't dig too deep, but I'm like, they're interesting questions, And I've never really, had someone on the podcast before who like has had like such a massive kind of online saga,
Yeah.
There's definitely been friends who've had been, cancelled, but it wasn't so, I don't know, drama filled and like reality TV show esque.
Yeah.
It
was very, and I guess, like for those listening and stuff, it's like, well, not for that, but for a consumer of content and a consumer of it all, I always wonder what compels someone to send like really brutal messages. I don't know about you. When I didn't have a following on social media, I would never go to a meet and greet. I wouldn't like message anyone. I didn't really look up to.
Yes.
So it's like a whole new world for me is trying to understand the catalyst behind sending a brutal message or like, I think that about everything I do. Like even when I'm on a comedy gig, I'm like, if I wasn't doing comedy, I would never go to a comedy show, and I would never send a message request. But I guess, I don't know, in a way people can live vicariously through, I don't know, your success, your drama, your life. I've got a lot of friends who like just in office jobs, they're bored as fuck. Like they're so bored. Yeah. And like at lunch, they're like, oh, what's going on with, oh, that happened on the comedy gig or, oh, this is happening of 9 to 5. In a way, those little dramas, I think you'd be surprised how many people, it's true boredom. Even rich, it's worse. I got some friends who are like, they're in that kind of corporate sphere and they're just very bored and they that's how reality TV shows get 1 million people to watch, because it's such an escape for people. It's nightmare fuel for me, is being interested in that shit, to be honest. I know. Like, I couldn't think of anything worse. But fair enough. And, I mean, I suppose that's content in general, isn't it?
Yeah. Like if you were outside of yourself and you were watching, like, 2 influencers online try and cancel one another, you wouldn't be interested in it.
I actually might have been interested. He did a pretty good job of the coverage, to be fair.
He played it really well. It was unbelievable.
Like, hope you're all right, mate, but fuck, he did well.
His execution was unbelievable.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty like, the marketing of it was like a marketing firm would be like, this is it's great.
This is elite.
Did you see the GoPro when he was walking into your house? Did you see the GoPro?
Yeah.
How visible is a GoPro?
He was actually holding it. I did. So did you think like, oh, we better shut the fuck up because this is being filmed? Did you ever think it's been
like
a common question? That's because people are like, how are you
saw your eyes dive.
How are you such an idiot for like falling into that? So he brought the GoPro for safety because he was nervous that we were gonna like hurt him or something. And yeah, I guess like I was so emotional. Like I was so annoyed by the fact I'd been framed to look like I'd hooked up with his ex. Like, I was so annoyed. Like how could you do that to me? Like what? Because like I didn't, because it's like this stuff before there was nothing. Like how could you go and put that online? And then I just, like, I didn't even register the GoPro really. It was just like, I didn't even think of the ramifications of that stuff getting posted. So, I mean, that doesn't change how I acted at the end of the day. Like I shouldn't have acted how I acted. And I'm like very aware of that.
I don't think it was that bad.
But
when I was watching, I was like, I understood it. Like when I feel like a lot of people would have understood like that emotions were high. You know what I mean?
It
kind of reminded me of like with my brothers. Like if someone is pissing you off and you kind of like, you know, you're just in a different state of mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably the dumbest thing I've ever done in my career. Like dumbest thing I've ever done.
Well, that's why it went so viral, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, fuck, you did well out of that. Hey? It's I don't know. Social media, hey. But I've never been bought into the kind of like the drama and all that. When did people, I guess people stopped believing it was a PR stunt? Maybe when he did the leaving the hype house. Yeah, I think leaving hype. I think
that's when it was kind of like, this
getting
isn't a joke
involved
anymore.
too, like the Angus, the email marketing guy, released a video. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
With like text threads and stuff of Gab kind of talking to him. And it's like, oh no, this is real. Like, stuff that's getting posted is really like damaging to careers. Yeah. Doesn't matter if there's a boxing match at the end. The stuff that's getting posted, you won't even be allowed to get in the ring.
True.
You know? So most people got past man, I wish it was a setup though.
So good.
I would have loved for it to have been a setup.
Yeah. If like Ashton Kutcher came out, you've all been punked.
You've all been
It had
punked.
that element to it.
How good was that? And then
it was so surreal.
And then we do imagine if Gav and I did a podcast.
Dude.
All I'm saying is the views. I talked it through.
You two discussing it. With me and a therapist.
Yes.
And Blake Pavey.
Mediators. Yes. I would actually be keen for that.
Yeah. I reckon maybe somewhere down the track.
Yeah, it could happen. I'm not sure though. I guess, the big thing has been, which is like, I mean, it's been this whole podcast, but like, I didn't want to like bring it up to like, bring it back to surface. I think we've done a fine job of like trying to explain it and the
psychological elements of it as well. Like I think people find really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how do people react to that kind of online cancellation? How do they react to that post? And, you know, the effect that it has on you, the comments you get. I think like it's a different sphere to the life most people live. Yeah.
And also I learned that thing of, like the people around you and, you know, having managers, let's say. So they take a percentage of like my brand deals and stuff. Yeah. And when things are flying, there's almost an element of like, geez, they're taking a bit much. Like I could do with that percentage. Yeah, yeah. But then when things go to shit, have 100%. But like they work so hard. Yeah. Like my managers were like spent a whole week with us. Just do this, you know, like just putting aside other meetings with like other clients and all that. So like getting your team together when things are going well is a real kind of lesson I've learnt for when things go to shit.
Louis, thanks so much for coming on the pod.
Thanks, Ferg.
I've been meaning to do this for a while.
It's been fun.
And hopefully when I come back from the UK in 6 weeks, you're in clear water again.
Hopefully. We'll see what clips you come out of with this one. That's what I'm...
There's just a clock in the background of you.
Yeah. Oh, God. Let's see.
I'll send him through to you before I post it.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I might actually need to listen to it.
Yeah, you can listen back to it as well.
If there's any big jump cuts in this, you guys have missed something real juicy. You guys have missed something real juicy.